Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, popote pale ulipo mpenzi mtazamaji, natumai kwamba umeshinda vyema, na hii ni Africa 24 TV, True TV na vile vile Nyanza Pulse, ambapo tutakuwa tunashughulikia masuala kadha wa kadha, ambapo lazima tuhakikishe tunazungumzia masuala yale ambayo yanafaa kuzungumziwa. Kwa hivyo nakukaribisha moja kwa moja tuweze kuanza mjadala wa siku ya leo, ambapo tutazungumzia masuala muhimu ya taifa. Ni masuala ambayo yamekuwa yakipiga vichwa vya habari na vile vile masuala ambayo yamekuwa yameingia katika ile kitengo cha masuala haya yamekuwa yakizungumziwa hapa na pale, na natumai kwamba tutakuwa tunayazungumzia kwa njia ambayo inafaa. Kwa hivyo popote pale ulipo mpenzi mtazamaji, natumai kwamba utakuwa unashiriki nasi na utakuwa tu umekamilika. Naomba kwamba uweze kuketi chini, uweze kutafuta nafasi yako, uweze kutafuta data, uweze kuweka simu yako iwe sawa, ama online yako iwe sawa, network yako iwe sawa kabisa. Tunapokuwa tunaanza tuweze kuanza kwa namna ambayo inafaa, na vile vile tuweze kuzungumziana moja kwa moja. Naomba kwamba tuweze kuashiria kwamba lazima tuhakikishe leo hii kila kitu iko sawa. Unapoendelea kujiunga nasi, ingia kwenye comment section uweze kuacha comment yako pale, na vile vile papa hapa ndipo unaweza kujifunza na kujiweka hadharani yale ambayo yanafaa kufanyika, ndipo sasa tuweze kuheshimiana. Hapa ni Africa 24 TV, tuweze kuguza kwenye comment section, kuna the blue link pale, unaweza jiunga nasi. Kwa hivyo popote pale ulipo mpenzi mtazamaji, natumai kwamba umeshinda vyema na utakuwa unashiriki nasi wakati wowote ule ambapo wewe mwenyewe utakuwa unaona kwamba ni wakati wa kumwafaka wa kututazama. Kwa hivyo popote pale ulipo, wageni ambao utakuwa unajiunga nasi wakati wote ujao, naomba kwamba tuweze kuzidi kuingia, ndiposa uweze kutupata papa hapa tu, ndiposa tuweze kuhisi kwamba tuko nyumbani. Kwa hivyo popote pale ulipo mpenzi mtazamaji, natumai kwamba umeshinda vyema, na hivyo popote pale unapotupata wakati huu, ingia pale, endelea kusubscribe kwenye comment section, ndiposa tuweze kuanza mjadala wako. Na mjadala wetu wa siku ya leo asante sana wale wote ambao wanaendelea kututazama. Ingia hapo kwenye comment section, actually kuna link ambayo iko blue. There is a blue link pale, a blue link ambayo iko hapo kwenye comment section. Hapo ndio unaguza alafu unaingia live. Kwa hivyo popote pale ulipo mpenzi mtazamaji, natumai kwamba ingia pale, endelea kusubscribe, endelea kulike, endelea kufollow, na naomba kwamba tuzidi kusimama pamoja, na naomba kwamba tunapoendelea kusimama pamoja na kuheshimiana, unapokuwa unapeana ujumbe, andika kwenye comment section pale, bora tu ujumbe wako usiwe wa matusi. Wacha tuweze kuashiria kwamba ni sharti tuweze kuweka mambo yawe wazi, na naomba kwamba tuzidi kusimama nawe. Na vile vile I don't know mbona watu wanasema kwamba haingii that link, haiwezi kucomment, I don't know. Asante sana. Kwa hivyo mpenzi mtazamaji, popote pale ulipo, nakukaribisha uweze kujiunga nasi wakati wote tunapokuwa tunazidi kusimama nasi, na vile vile naomba kwamba tuweze kuhakikisha kwamba yale yote ambayo yanaendelea kusimama nasi tunaendelea kusikiza popote pale ulipo. There is something that hii mambo ya mafuta yameleta shida leo, mafuta yataleta shida, na mafuta yamefanya wengi waweze kuleta shida zaidi. Mafuta yameua watu, mafuta yameweza kuhakikisha kwamba watu wamegongwa, wameumia. Lakini suala ambalo linaendelea kuzungumziwa kwa sasa ni masuala ambayo ni muhimu zaidi, na masuala kama haya yasiweze kufanyiwa msako wakati wote ule, kwa sababu maswala ya mafuta ni swala ambalo ni muhimu zaidi katika jamii, ni swala muhimu zaidi katika jamii. Kwa hivyo unaposikia kwamba wakaazi ama wenye nchi wanalia zaidi kuhusu mafuta, wanafaa kupewa wakati wao kujieleza, wanafaa kupewa wakati wao kusikizwa, waweze kusikizwa, waweze kupewa chances zao, lakini pia msichukue fursa hiyo kuhakikisha kwamba mnaharibu vitu za wenyewe, mnaharibu yale mambo ambayo yanafaa kufanyika, na vile vile mnafanya yale ambayo hayastahili kufanywa. Kwa hivyo naomba kwamba tuweze kuchangia ili tuweze kuhakikisha kwamba tunapata yale ambayo yanafaa kuchangiwa. Kwa hivyo popote pale ulipo mpenzi mtazamaji, unapokuwa unanitazama kwa sasa, naomba kwamba tuzidi kuhakikisha yale ambayo tunafaa kuyafanya yamefanyika. Yale ambayo yanafaa kufanywa yamefanyika. Na vile vile tunapoendelea kushughulikia suala hili la mafuta, vile vile vyama vyetu vimekuwa vikikua hapa na pale. Vyama vyetu vimekuwa vikikua hapa na pale. Tunaona kwamba kuna vyama ambavyo vilikuwa na nguvu fulani, lakini kufika sasa hizo nguvu hazipo tena. Umewahi jiuliza ni kwa nini nguvu hizi hazipo tena? Umewahi jiuliza ni kwa nini chama fulani inatoka mahali fulani inaingia mahali fulani, ama chama fulani ilikuwa juu na sasa ipo chini? Haya ni maswala ambayo tunafaa sisi kujiuliza kama wakazi wa Kenya, ama haya ni maswala ambayo tunafaa kujiuliza sisi kama wanakamati wa Kenya, wale wote ambao wanahakikisha wanafanya uamuzi wa Kenya, wale ambao wanaamua ni nani anakuwa kiongozi wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo shukran sana wale ambao wote wanaendelea kutufuatilia mjadala ambao tutaenda kuwa nao wakati huu sasa. Wale wageni ambao watakuwa wanajiunga nasi, lazima tuhakikishe kwamba tunazidi kusimama imara. Asante sana. Asante sana wale wote ambao wanaendelea kutusikiza. Naona Thamoji. Thamoji, hebu fungua kamera yako. Actually we need to have Thamoji, good evening. Hello. Unmute your mic. Ametoka. Hawa ni mashabiki wetu wanaendelea kujiunga nasi. Naomba kwamba tuweze wale wote ambao wanaendelea kujiunga nasi. Actually, let us focus, let us make our country shine better. Let us make our country be at a good place. Let us ensure our country is moving. Let us not destroy our country. Very many youths wanangoja maandamano. Wanangoja maandamano. Why are we taking the advantages of the situation tuweze kuumiza watu wengine, tuweze kuharibu mali ya wenyewe, tuweze kuharibu mali ya nchi, tuweze kuharibu vitu za serikali? Unajua serikali ni sisi. Whenever we destroy something, whenever tunachoma barabara zetu, bado sisi ndio watu ambao tunatumika hizo barabara. Mbona tuweze kuharibu barabara zetu? Mbona tuchukue muda wetu mwingi kuharibu barabara zetu? Kwa hivyo popote pale ulipo mpenzi mtazamaji, naomba kwamba tuzidi kuhakikisha kwamba popote unapopata nafasi, unapopata ile ambayo unataka wewe, wachia wengine na wao waweze kufanya wakati. Unajua the thing here is all about matatu. But if I can ask a question, Was it matatu wenye walikuwa wanafanya maandamano? Probably no. Unapata kwamba kuna wale vijana ambao wanangojea siku ya maandamano. Wao wako tu, kazi yao ni kungojea tu maandamano. Leo ni maandamano, yes. Leo ni Monday, leo ni Tuesday. Hiyo maandamano itakuwa lini? Then wao wanangoja tu. Leo watu wameibiwa masimu, bagi zao, wallet ni wangapi? How can we take this situation to be? How can we make Kenya better? How can we make Kenya grow? How can we make Kenya to be procedural? Is Kenya a procedural country? Probably no. Huwezi leo amka leo wewe ni Mkenya, barabara imechukua muda mrefu kutengenezwa, alafu wewe unaamka na siku moja unaiharibu. How do you feel? In fact, how do you feel wakati unapata barabara ambayo ulikuwa umetengeneza imeharibika? How do you feel? Ikikuwa wewe sasa ndio kiongozi, umeng'ang'ana, umetengenezea wananchi hiyo barabara, kesho upate wanachoma tiles juu ya hiyo barabara. How do you feel? How do you feel? In fact, we must be very careful. We must protect our properties. We must make the country, in fact it's bad anyway. Kwa hivyo popote pale ulipo mpenzi mtazamaji, naomba kwamba tuzidi kuzungumza, tuzidi kuambizana yale ambayo yanaweza kutuweka hapa. Kwa hivyo moja kwa moja naomba kwamba tuweze kuenda kwa waziri wa masuala ya ndani ambaye ni Kipchumba Murkomen. Alikuwa anazungumza na waandishi wa habari jioni ya leo. Kwa hivyo wacha tuzungumze, tusikue kwamba ni wangapi ambao waliweza kuumia manini, kwa sababu
following today's chaos, looting, violence, disruption of transport during protests against the fuel prices this Monday, 18th of May 2026. Attention has been drawn to the chaos, violence, looting, and disruption of transport in the country today, ostensibly to protest high fuel prices. Even though our constitution protects the right to and picket, it is quite unfortunate that today's protests have once again been hijacked by political actors for political ends. Whereas we take cognizance of the fact that fuel prices have risen significantly as a result of ongoing global political crisis, looting, violence, blocking roads, and vandalizing public and private property can in no way bring down the oil prices.
In fact, waziri ako right, kwa sababu if comes leo tuchome barabara, tubomoe barabara, bado mafuta kama ni 200 ni 200, kama ni 300 ni 300. So the waziri was right. Anyway, thank you so much wale ambao wote wanaendelea kutazama kwa sasa. This is Africa 24 TV and Brand Vitiro. I thank you so much. I salute you my followers. I salute you my guys, our guys as Africa 24 TV, kwa sababu leo mmefanya ile kitu. Only that you don't give your views. You don't give your views to our comment section. Ingia pale comment section, give us your views, kwa sababu I can see your following is too high. But sasa hapo kwa comment section kidogo mnatuamisha. Anyway, welcome Geoffrey. Hebu tusalimie.
Thank you. Africa 24 viewers and my co-host here, Abran, na wasalimu wote mjadili. How are you? How have you been? How was your day? Here in Kenya we've been having a tough day. Siku imekuwa noma, lakini sasa tumeimaliza. Now we are here in Africa 24 talking here in 1 and 2. Tujue mambo itakuwaje. Mimi niko salama, just in here. Brian atupeleke na mambo vile mambo itakuwa. I'll be engaging with you Brian. Tuko pamoja.
Thank you. Ukiingia, I think umepata statement ya our CS for your security. Kwamba violence, looting, kufanya vituko, drama, haiwezi kurudisha bei ya mafuta chini. Na vile vile hii mafuta amesema kwamba imekuwa affected in the whole world kwa sababu ya vita ya hapa na pale ya zile nchi ambazo yeye mwenyewe alisema kwamba siwezi kuzitaja, kwa sababu kwenda hapo mbele tutakuwa tunasikia kwamba akisema kwamba siwezi kuzitaja kwa majina. Kwa hivyo wewe unaona kwamba CS ako sawa ama bado yuko chini ya maji kuconvince wa Kenya yale ambayo yanaendelea?
I think they are trying to convince Kenyans. What this government have to do, they have to talk to people nicely. I saw niliona Mbadi today was an interview and alisema kwamba they have nothing they can do. Hakuna kitu. So watu hata muende kwa barabara mfanye nini, mtaruka leo, kesho mtarudi kazi na mtaendelea kupanda gari. Na unajua the mistake that Kenyans are doing, leo mmekuwa protest, leo mmekuwa maandamano mkisema bei iko juu. Na kwa hiyo maandamano kuna watu waliamka asubuhi wakienda kazi. The same people who had yesterday, people announced that tutakuwa na maandamano au watu wote. Unajua watu, some of them ndo wanatuangusha. So tena kesho watu wataamka wakienda kazi, wakipanda gari, wengine wakitumia gari zao. So the government wanaona kama hao watu wako sawa and they are assume that. So na pia sisi tunafaa tukue serious about this. Tuseme kama leo tuko maandamano, kesho tuko maandamano, at least hapo itakuwa serious. Tunaweza tuko maandamano tu leo pekee, kesho tumerudi kazi. Fare kutoka Kisii Town hadi South Mugirango na Barnaby it has been maybe 150, saa hii iko 250 na watu watapanda. Fare kutoka Nairobi Town to Thika it has been 100, saa hii tuseme ni 200 na watu watalipa. Hapo ndo wataangusha. So na pia government, so ni kama pia wote tunachezana, but pia government inafaa icheze vile itacheza. Yesterday it has been like 2 weeks zimebaki zimeenda nyuma, like 2 weeks 1 week. Walitoa wakapandisha, sasa hivi wamepandisha. Sasa hivi wanasema goons have been in the street looting nini. Sasa me I don't even understand, hapa ni kama serikali pia inacheza kiwao. They're playing with the mind of Kenyans. Na pia sisi Kenyans tunataka tukue wajanja, tukue ngumu, tusikubali hivyo bro.
Okay, let us listen to our CS. Ukisikize hiyo press ambayo alipeana kwa sababu
if anything, the disruption of transport and closure of business can only worsen the situation. The government, led by the National Treasury and the Ministries of Energy and Transport, are taking steps to engage with transport stakeholders to explore the ways of addressing price increases, with confidence that the talks will bear fruit. We are, however, concerned that although most parts of Kenya were peaceful, criminal elements in some parts have been mobilized and deployed by rogue politicians to target government projects, property, personal property, pro-government, and also property of pro-government leaders. The looting of courteous markets owned by a member of parliament who supports government, the burning down of UDA offices in Wote in Makueni County, and the torching of two trucks at the site of Rironi Mausamship project are not coincidence, but a calculated move to spread fear and government supporters and innocent public servants.
Aval the CS vile amesema vizuri sana.
What about the statement? Amesema ametaja tu vitu za serikali peke yake. Ameanza na a supermarket ambaye imekuwa owned na member of
The
parliament
member of yes.
ya serikali. Amekuja ametaja wote
The
office,
police station that was burned down,
amekuja
yes.
ametaja trucks ambazo zinafanya kazi ya serikali. So does it mean ana tu zile vitu ambazo zimeharibiwa za serikali peke yake na hakuona hizo za Wakenya wa kawaida?
He
And
didn't see
if
the
really
Mkenya wa kawaida. So unaona wao wanajua vile wanajitetea. Hakuna vile amesema tu mwananchi wa kawaida vile wanaweza tetea us, but wao wanajitetea. Unaona amesema nini, the member of parliament mwenye sijui ni supermarket yake kama I don't know. Unajua mimi I don't follow up sana sana na vitu za serikali. I just follow up common mwananchi vile anataka. And even today it was hapa Thika Road, niliona watu walikufa, but sijasikia akisema hiyo kitu. People died.
No, kwenda hapo mbele atakuwa anasema watu walikufa around 4 and 30 injured.
Yes.
So atasema kwa hiyo press kwenda mbele. Anyway, thank you. Tunapoendelea kuzungumza naona Jeremiah yuko hapa kusalimia na asante sana wale viewers wetu wa Afrika. Leo I'm very proud of you people, na kindly tupe maoni yenu. Wacha uoga bwana, peana maoni hapa. Anyway, Jeremiah, Jeremiah amehanga ama?
Yes. Hapana.
Okay.
Ndio nimeingia sijasikia where the conversation is going, so I'd rather not talk still. Wacha nisikie.
Yeah, it's only that I wanted you to salute us and say hi to our viewers.
Nimejoin, niko hapa kusikia what the conversation is and contribute, but I'll listen briefly. Tukiendelea, asante.
Thank you. Asante. So, leo our viewers, we are talking about the fuel demonstrations, the fuel demos ambazo zimekuwa zikifanyika the whole country today. And number 2, later we will talk about our parties, because we have seen our parties zenye zina peak. That's the 2 different things zinaenda at the same motion. So the first thing we want to talk about the demos, because the latest that it has happened the whole day. Imekuwa kimbi hapa na pale, watu wamekufa, vitu zimeharibiwa, we've seen gari zimechomwa. Na what I'm asking is about Geoffrey. How ambao walikuwa wanaandamana, are they matatu owners association members? And if so, hawa ambao walikuwa wanaandamana sana mpaka wanachoma gari, are these people in matatu industry or the rated caregiver industry?
Hawa watu walikuwa wanaandamana, wengi wao walikuwa ni sisi ambao ni wananchi wa kawaida wenye tunatumia fare tukienda kazi, kwenye tunafanya kazi mbali. Tuseme kama mimi I'm working somewhere where I used to pay fare ya 100. Saa lazima utumie 150 kwenda na kurudi, you'll use the same 150 kurudi, so that's 300. Naona imeongeza juu. So most of the people wenye walikuwa wanaandamana ni hao wenye wanatumia fare. Ndio matatu wana ni kidogo sana wenye walikuwa pale nje, so most of them walikuwa ni wananchi wenye wanatumia fare.
Kuna swali mimi najiuliza, kati ya matatu na mwananchi, yes, anafaa kufanya maandamano, kwa sababu matatu yeye ameongeza fare, mwananchi yeye ameongezewa fare, yeye atalipa hiyo fare kwa matatu. Lakini unapata matatu ndio wanataka kufanya maandamano na si mwananchi ambaye amefinya kulipa hiyo fare mwenye anataka kufanya maandamano. So this thing, okay, about the waziri, okay, wacha niweke hii presa ya waziri.
Coupled with the recent violent attacks on Ms. Rachel Wandeto, who passed on this morning, we are witnessing a clear scheme where a section of political class is taking incendiary statements to fund intolerance and ethnic organizing gangs to spread terror, sabotage government projects, and profile and intimidate those of different political opinion, especially those who support government. We wish to reassure the country that the government will do everything in its powers to protect lives and property, and at no time will lawlessness be allowed to take root in any part of our country. We will intensify our fight against organized crime and its sponsors who are hell-bent on propagating anarchy.
Excuse.
Hey, good evening, Jeremiah. Long time no see. Hello. Good evening, Jeremiah. Geoffrey,
Hello.
Brian, Jeremiah, na Giovanni. Habari ya siku
Can you
hizi
hear me?
wadau? Yes, I can hear you, Jeremiah. Long time no see.
Long time. Good to see you as well. Giovanni.
Yes.
Yes, how are you
Good
guys?
to see you. Very
Poa
good to see
sana.
you all.
Yes. So Geoffrey,
You
mlikuwa
know the
mmefika wapi? Naona ni kama host wetu ametuacha kidogo.
the
Ni
usual thing.
kama network
Good
imekuwa
things comes in
kidogo.
pairs.
But anyway, let's continue. Mlikuwa mmefika wapi, Geoffrey?
We were talking about this protest about the high fuel price. We were talking about that na tulikuwa tuna review hii press statement ilikuwa ya CS Kipchumba Murkomen. So we are on that na swali ilikuwa ni between us wananchi wa kawaida and the matatu owners who is supposed to protest, na sana sana for today hawa wenye walikuwa kwa maandamano ni akina nani? Ni sisi wa kawaida ama ni hawa watu wa matatu according to you?
Oh, so asante sana. And I'm happy to be here once again for political show to live 170 people. And first of all, mi na feel like hii hike ya fuel ina affect sana sisi wote in general, from the matatu people up to us, because first of all, mimi ni mtu natumianga matatu to and from when I'm going to do my gigs here and there, ama when the times I'm going to school. And so unapata, if I'm paying fare, let's say from here up to where I go to ni kitu kama 50 bob. So when iki hike unasikia tunaambiwa fare ni 80 bob. Unaona? Some places unapata maybe from Gataka to town ni saizi 150, and maybe also for Rongai fare ni 150, unaona? So the price, yeah, everything is going high, but hata yeah, yo haongezeki, unaona? So I feel if the price of fuel has to hike, and also it affects kila kitu. Also I think also salaries za watu zinafaa improve so that we can be able to be able to manage na cope with the changes. Otherwise niseme fuel price has to come down in to affect sisi wote. And also I think right now the place that we are in at the moment, the easy protest zikianza, it's a big dent to the president in his quest to win the presidency, and ndio apate two term, because if hizi protest zikianza, I think it's not good for him and his PR. But I've also seen story ya Mbadi. I saw the interview today hapo Fixing the Nation, and amekuwa na back and forth to the country, and I hope to hear more from you people. I want to see nataka kusikia perspective ya Jeremiah in this situation, I also want to hear Giovanni, and I know tuko na different opinions, but we will agree to fact. So Jeremiah, tupatie opinion yako.
Asante sana. It is very true that the cost of fuel affects all aspects of our lives. Na ikienda juu, things like transport, cost of commodities goes up. My position on this thing is, one, yes, Kenyan fuel is slightly more costly than a lot of our neighbors, right? And there are several reasons for that. The government has not done a good job in explaining to the population why is Kenyan fuel more expensive than Uganda fuel or Rwanda fuel and things like that. But those are microeconomic, parameters and KPIs that Staki ends up to explain, because that would be a different discussion. But the underlying fact as well is that this latest spike in the pricing is due to the instability that is happening in the Middle East. Okay, it's true that 80% of the world fuel passes through the Strait of Hormuz, going to the rest of the world. Inaweza toka there, it goes through Hormuz, goes to some other destination, then gets shipped to Kenya. But the statistics don't lie that 80% of the global fuels pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And when there's a strain in that particular transport corridor, the whole world feels it. So hatutalia ati ni sisi ndio tuko na shida peke yetu. So to that extent, I would cut the government some slack wakijitetea na hiyo. The same way you could say Uhuru also alijitetea na the war in Ukraine, when the cost of fertilizers and cost of produce zilienda juu because of that. So to that extent, nitapatia the government a bit of slack. Second point is that there is a difference between a strike and a demonstration. Okay, the Matatu owners called for a strike, which in its own definition and the way it has happened before, even in Kenya or other places, what I was expecting was that they were going to down their tools, which is matatu na buses hazingekuwa kwa barabara, zisisaidie watu. But then people with private vehicles, if they are comfortable with doing, or driving around, they should have been able to do that peacefully without any threats of damage or even death, occurring. What we witnessed today is not a strike. It's a demonstration, okay? And to be precise, a violent demonstration. Now, what I think has happened is that there is a bit of political, game being played and taking advantage of this situation to sort of try to drive some political agenda. I do not think that Matatu Owners Association really are being honest in what they want to achieve by going on strike, and eventually not even being on strike but actually having a demonstration. I think what we need to do is to find out what the root cause of this is. The government needs to communicate a little better on the hike in fuel prices, but even as Kenyans, we need to be very clear in an understanding that the problem is not purely Kenyan. Across the globe, every country is feeling the pinch because of the instability in the Middle East, and we just need to separate politics from economics. Whoever is taking advantage of this situation for political gains, is not doing the right thing. That's what I would say.
Okay, asante sana Jeremiah. Asante sana for those remarks, and I am not the host today. Host wetu ametupotea kidogo, so najaribu kuendeleza mahali tulikuwa tumeachia. Before I welcome Mzalendo kwa show, karibu sana. Giovanni, tupatie maoni yako about the fuel strike that was held today.
Hello? Can you hear
Hello,
me?
Giovanni.
Yes, yes,
Sasa
we
Yes,
are
can you
here.
hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, first and foremost, let me do some rebuttal on what Jeremiah said. First and foremost, I think we need to be genuine on what how we are approaching this issue. I don't think it is proper for us to be disingenuous in terms of how we approach this issue. First, when he insinuates like the Matatu people are not like real in what their agenda is, and insinuating other issues, I don't think it is the proper approach as we the citizens should be able to articulate. First and foremost, I personally am a citizen. Yes, sometimes I'm privileged. I drive my car, and there are times that I am not able even to walk to fuel my own car. I use the public means, and there are times that even the public means of late has been a bit hectic, even as a person, and in particular, I go through situations where sometimes I hag over the pricing. Like if you are charging 120, I only have 20, and I only have 80. So in particular, when these people, these are the situations they go through every other day. That the fare amounts to be around 120, but the price that the customer or the clients are willing to pay is only at around 80. Now, at the end of the day, they have a cut within which they have already agreed with the owner of the matatu to be able to be depositing at every end of every day, like whether it is 8,000, 10,000, 5,000, or whatever thousands. Now, let's go back to what Jeremiah is saying, is that this is politically ignited or formulated, or whichever language you chooses to undertake. But the message is clear that this thing is not organically originated, which I totally disagree. When you look at the situations of today, basically it was not. I agree on one thing that he said, that it was a strike, it was not a demonstration. However, people came out from all walks of life, from Bomet, and this is Kapki. This is in the heartland of the Hustler Nation. They were playing football, and you cannot tell me that all the matatus there, they are multi-Kenya, owned. And you go to Mombasa. Mombasa is more, you'd say also it is multi-Kenya. There were strikes in Mombasa, there were strikes in Malindi, there were strikes in Nairobi, there were strikes in Mount Kenya region, there were strikes in Rift Valley, there were strikes all over Kenya. So basically, I think we as a people, as we discuss this thing, we need to be truthful to ourselves. That the ethnic card which has been being propagated by our leaders does not cascade down to the likes of me, Mzalendo, Jeremiah, but we need to look this thing critically and analyze things in the perspective that and that we saw, because this is who we are. This is what we are. It concerns us. It concerns our lives. It concerns our children, because like tomorrow, yes, today our children did not go to school. My children did not go to school. Tomorrow, probably also it will not happen. So mimi naumia, Mjaluo anaumia, Mukamba anaumia. So whichever way we look at this thing, we need to look at it holistically. Before I give my views and about anything, let me do those rebuttals on Jeremiah. And let us, if we have to engage, we have to raise our bar. We have to raise our bar, and we need to call things as they are. We need to call our leaders, because they are living in a different dimension of our living. The times that we are living in are totally, there are no Kikuyus, there are no Luos, there are no Luos, there are no Kambas. We are totally living in a different dispensation, that all things notwithstanding, the government decision and policy affects all of us, whether we are in broad-based, whether we are whether we are in opposition. The truth of the matter is, if I buy a bread here where I stay, it is the same thing that a Luo buys in Nyanta. The same taxes that I incur are the same taxes that a Kamba will incur, a Coastal will incur. So let us engage ourselves. Let us ask ourselves pertinent questions and address them accordingly, and not aligning ourselves in any mulengo, but actually addressing issues as they are. Thank you.
Okay, asante sana hapo Jeremiah. Sorry. Asante sana Giovanni, and our host is back. But before host atuchukulie, lazima tupatie mzalendo our senior, tupatie chance to hear his perspective about today's recent events. And najua is very very happy because he's a big Arsenal fan. Karibu mzalendo.
I hope, Aleki, how are you guys? I hope, Aleki, you're not watching the game, because if you watch the game, we are going to lose. I know I know how much you hate Arsenal. So far it's 0-0. I've not seen any goals yet. Please stop watching the game, Aleki. I'm begging you. But anyway,
Nice, I'm not watching.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see Jeremy. Nice to see Ben. Nice to see all of you. Discussion, but let us not lose the focus and go back to our political hideouts and find a path that help our country. Now, the issue of crisis is something that is global. It is not by government. It is something that is caused by this war between Iran, USA, and Israel. So the path of Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, controls nearly 20% of the fuel that is consumed worldwide. So it is where most of these countries get their fuel from. That is where the source is. So there is no source of there's not enough supply of oil that can feed the whole world, with that strip being blocked by the US and Iran. So that is where the fuel problem is. I wish I would have taken you around so that you can see the fuel crisis. And I think this is something so important that I actually need to take you around, and you see the fuel price in where I am right now. The cost of fuel here is almost $5 per gallon. $5, you can do your maths. That's almost 600 per liter here where I am. So, and a few years ago, before the war, it was $2 and some cents. So that is what is there, and it is global. It is not a Kenyan problem. It is a global problem. So we need to find a solution on how to end this war. America and Iran, they have to come into terms on what they really want to end this particular war, especially if there is no deal. And the way I'm seeing it, uh, the U.S. will continue bombing Iran, and the situation might escalate for the next few months if we don't find a solution. So the issue of matatus striking because of the gas, maybe the government needs to just find a way of subsidizing the cost of fuel. But again, that cost will also always be transferred to the consumer. That is you and me. So John Mbadi and everybody else, instead of Mbadi each and every time talking about politics, is the economic manager of the country. He needs to come up with solutions to solve the fuel crisis in the country. If it is a matter of tax reduction for the time being, so that they subsidize it a bit, so that the cost comes down a bit, maybe by a shilling or two or some cents, that is good enough for the matatu industries. Remember, these matatus are the ones most Kenyans use for transport. And apart from matatus, people use their personal cars, which is becoming unaffordable. The cost of goods, the cost of production, goods that are produced with the diesel fuel, is also becoming very, very unaffordable. To get the mboga ya kienyeji from Kisi to Nyamakima or Marikiti, that is diesel. So that mboga, that cost will be passed to the consumers. So that is the reason why this issue is so important to each and everyone. It is not only the matatu industry, but that is an issue that ought to have been addressed a long time ago by the players, and especially us who are supporters of various political players. So it is high time you think about your country. I think that is the biggest problem that we have. Before you think about the politician, think about your country called Kenya. Think about what kind of governance you want for your country. Because I think we, the people, are the problem. If Matatus had a successful protest, protests are there to identify a problem, and they are there in the constitution. I don't agree with what my brother has said, that this kind of protests were demonstrations were engineered and all. There's no difference between a protest and a boycott. There's a difference between a boycott and a protest and a strike. But there is a lot of similarities between a strike and a protest. A strike and a protest basically means the same thing. So when you're striking and you're protesting, you are showing that you don't agree with whatever is being presented there by the government, or you don't agree with a particular view, or you don't agree with what William Ruto and John Mbadi are projecting as the economy of the country regarding the fuel at the pump station. So we need to identify the problem and give the right information to the people. Some of these strikes could have been avoided if the government gave information to the people and told them, hey, from this month to the next few months, the cost of fuel will go up by so much because of this fight that is happening in Iran, between the Iran and the US. So for now, tighten your belts. But in the next few months, things might be better if this war ends. but we don't know when it is ending, and we don't have control over it. There are things that the government, that the Kenyan government have no control over, because we don't have our own fuel. We don't. We depend on the petrol the petrol producing countries to bring the fuel. And the longer the route for shipping this important commodity, the more it is passed to the consumers. So, and that is how the government runs, through taxes. So if we are dependent on taxes, so when a country depends on taxes, then there is no way that these prices are going to come down. They are either going to go up and our taxes go up because they want to ensure that that the supply is sustainable. And that is what I have for now. Otherwise, I will be repetitive, and I don't want to repeat some of the points that our able panelists have discussed. So let us move on
Mzalendo.
and see what happens. Yeah.
Mzalendo, okay, thank you. Our viewers are welcome to the show. Lakini just send your mind hapa kwa comment you've got to watch, but you don't ask to comment. Anyway, we need your views. Our CS, that is Kipchumba Murkomen for internal security, says that wale ambao wameathirika leo ni mali ya serikali, na vile vile wale ambao vile vitu ambavyo ama zile gari ambazo kama alianza na supermarket ambayo imechomwa leo ama imeharibiwa leo ni ya mbunge mmoja ambaye aka-lied to the government. Akakuja akasema kwamba ile ofisi ya UDA ya wote ambayo iliweza kuwekwa moto bado ilikuwa inalenga tu serikali. Akakuja akasema kwamba zile gari ambazo zilichomwa two trucks zilikuwa za kampuni ambayo inafanya mradi fulani wa serikali, na vile vile gari ambayo ilikuwa imekuwa na gadgets za serikali ama za UDA ikaweza kuchomwa. Ndiposa akasema kwamba hii huenda ikawa this thing is political. Kuna wale ambao wanasiasa fulani ambao wako ndani wanajificha kwa mafuta, ndiposa waweze kufikisha yale ambayo walikuwa na kwa akili zao. Na baadaye katika press yake alikuja akasema kwamba hii ni kitu ambacho kimepangwa, kwa sababu wakati wa Uhuru Kenyatta hawakuenda hapa, lakini wakati wa William Ruto imeenda hapa. Ni wazi kwamba hawa waandamanaji wa matatu wanawinda William Ruto ama ni semi tu za kisiasa?
Hiyo ilikuwa ni swali ama hiyo ilikuwa ni comment?
Ni swali vile vile ni maoni. Amesema na mimi pia nimesema na nimemnakili nikiuliza.
Okay, Brian, asante sana kwa hiyo maoni. Wacha ni pengine nikielezea kwa lugha ya Kiswahili ni ya kuwa mambo ya kugoma ama strike ni mambo ya kisiasa. Unanielewa? Hiyo ni mambo ya kisiasa, lazima ipangwe kisiasa. Ni mambo ya kisiasa. Mambo ya uchumi ni mambo ya kisiasa. Mambo ya biashara ni mambo ya kisiasa. Kila jambo ambao unafanya kwa maisha yako, ukiamka asubuhi kuenda kununua mkate, ni mambo ya siasa, kwa sababu ile pesa unaenda kutumia pale, ukipata bei ya mkate ni siasa.
Mzalendo, you have issue with your sound. Mzalendo, having some issues with your sound. Mzalendo, you are breaking down. Tunakupoteza kidogo. There's some issue with your sound, Mzalendo. Kuna ka slight issue with your sound. So
Mzalendo ni kama anapotea.
Your sound is a breakdown kidogo.
Mzalendo ni kama anapotea.
Mzalendo, please fix your sound. Tumekupoteza kidogo tu kwa sauti.
To fund intolerance and ethnic bigotry and organizing gangs to spread terror, sabotage government projects, and profile and intimidate those of different political opinion, especially those who support government. We wish to reassure the country that the government will do everything in its powers to protect lives and property, and at no time would lawlessness be allowed to take root in any part of our country. We will intensify our fight against organized crime and its sponsors who are hell-bent on propagating anarchy. The full force of law will be brought to bear on the organizers of today's violence and wanton destruction of property. In fact, it is about 348 of them have already, perpetrators have already been arrested. It is quite unfortunate also that 4 Kenyans in today's violence, which also saw more than 30 people, we lost 4, sorry, it's unfortunate that we lost 4 Kenyans in today's violence, which also saw more than 30 people injured. It is very regrettable that there are politicians in this country who measure the success of opposition to the government by the number of innocent lives lost in the demonstrations they organize. This is the lowest form of politics and the most wicked manifestations of self-interest. To the leaders who have been profiling Kenyans of different political opinion and calling them traitors, we shall hold you personally responsible for the lives lost and property destroyed as a result of your statements. You will be answerable now and in the future. I commend Kenyans who went about their business in peace, and actually, in largely in most parts of the country, Kenyans went about their business in peace.
Sasa sikiza waziri wetu vile ambavyo anazungumza mpaka anashindwa ni wangapi ambao waliweza kupoteza maisha. How can you plan about or talk about the speech of our CS? How can you rage and engage? Geoffrey yako area. Okay, Jeremiah.
Sawa, Brian, thank you. Wacha niongee, but before I say what I want to say, I think I have the right of reply to
Giovanni.
To Giovanni's response to what I said. I think that Giovanni didn't understand me. He did not understand what I said. At no point in my introduction did I try to insinuate that this thing was created by politicians, and neither did I try to point fingers at any particular tribe or any particular, political formation. Those were his own words, which I think were misplaced. He did not understand what I was saying. I was very, very clear and very explicit that the hike in fuel prices is a global problem, right? 1, 2, that I thought our government hasn't done a good job in communicating or intervening in the problem the way Kenyans anticipated. 2, 3, I differentiated between a demonstration and a strike. But then I said that, some political elements hijacked the purported demonstrations or protests and try to gain political mileage. I did not say which political angle I was talking to, but then he was quick to assume that I was saying this was being done by the opposition, right? Which is absolutely wrong. I was not even thinking in that direction, because Giovanni, guess what? It could have been any political formation. I am a very staunch supporter of William Ruto, and I am a two-term person. But I'm also very aware, right, very, very intentionally so, that we all know this as Kenyans, that Ruto will create a problem, then come up with a solution for that problem and solve it. What makes you think that what I meant was that maybe the government is making these prices go this high so that people can demonstrate, so that next week can come back and say, I'm lowering the prices, and do that and drop the prices as low as possible? That's possible as well. So for you to assume that what I was saying was to try to say that the opposition was doing this was very wrong. You assumed my statement. But with that said, I still stand by the fact that if they demonstrate the strike, right, by the Matatu owners, okay, was purely so that they want the prices to drop, they should have taken measures, right, to make sure that there's no demonstration and wanton destruction of Kenyans' property and lives. What they should have done was told all of their circles, and this is why the idea of circles came into being. They could have told all their member circles that tomorrow we are not going to work, msitoke kwa parking, gari zilale. Just as simple. That's all you needed to do, and let everyone. But if Kenyans wanted to demonstrate against this, as you know, which they have the right to demonstrate, but if Kenyans wanted to, there were people, you know, activists like Eric Omondi who are mobilizing citizens to demonstrate, right? And if they wanted to do that, Matatu owners should have been very categorical and say, we are not going to demonstrate, but we are urging our member circles to not operate tomorrow. There's a very clear distinction between what those of two scenarios look like. And they could have just told people like Eric, you guys want to demonstrate, we don't appreciate that you make your demonstration coincide with ours, with our strike. We would appreciate if you put yours separately. But if you want to join us, then let's make sure that what you do is peaceful, and make sure that nothing, you know, goes wrong. But that did not happen. And at that point is where the political play comes in. Mzalendo has said it, and CS Murkomen has also said it. And it's out there in the open. Politicians will try to score political points riding on any situation or any circumstances, regardless of how bad it is. Tuju fails to pay his loan, right? He has a problem with the bank. Politicians take advantage of it and try to make it a political thing, right? Somebody does something which is purely non-political. Politicians will jump in and try to make it a political, you know, matter. That's how they score points. And this situation today is no different, Giovanni. What I'm saying is that politicians did not start it, but they hijacked it and joined it and changed, you know, the intent to drive political agenda. And this is what happened with the Gen Z demonstrations of 2004. The first 2 days were very, very, you know, objective. People were really agitating against something. But when politicians stepped in and took the agenda and started scoring political, you know, points, that's where everything went haywire. And that's how that happened. So that's what I would say as far as my rebuttal to what Giovanni said. But moving forward, I think that and Mzalendo has hinted at it, the government needs to come up with interventions, you know, to cushion wananchi against this price, you know, price hike in the petrol and petroleum products. And one of the things they can do, like he said, like Mzalendo said, look at some of the unnecessary taxes. There is road levy, you know, which is very high on fuel consumption. They can drop that for now, right? They can look at, you know, all these other unnecessary, you know, taxes that are on the fuel prices and say, look, until this situation is sorted, we are not going to take XYZ types of levies on or fuel costs so that we maintain the fuel cost at a very good level. But they haven't been able to do that, and that's a failure on the government's part. So to that part, I understand. Again, this is a global issue. It's not a Kenyan issue. And for us to make it like a Kenyan route administration issue, we are missing the point. We need to be alive to the fact that this is a global crisis. Every country is suffering, but the way different countries respond is what matters. If we need our government to respond in a different way, maybe our political, opposition leaders should come back and put, an alternative proposal to the government and say, hey, look, this is what we think you can do to lower the prices of fuel, instead of just saying they're demonstrating and not offering a solution. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Mzalendo, ulikuwa umepotea kwa sababu ya network. Hebu zungumza juu ulikuwa umeendelea kuongea.
Yeah, nilikuwa naendelea na mjadala. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah.
I think today we are having a very good candid discussion, and this is so important to the general public. First, we need to understand where this cost is coming from. How much did the government increase the cost of for example, diesel? Waliongeza bei na pesa ngapi? I read somewhere that they increased the price with about 45 shillings or 35 shillings there about the price of diesel. Now, when the price of diesel is increased, that trickles down to each and every part of the economy. Now, there are cargo goods that are coming from Mombasa port. There are people who are doing clearing and forwarding. They are doing business. They are affected. It is not just the matatu industry. When the matatu industry calls a strike, it is a strike for almost every other person who is a consumer in Kenya. It means that your car will be consuming, the cost will be added to you because of the government increase of the petrol price. So petrol has increased by, I don't know whether it is 25 or 35 shillings.
46.
Is it 35? Can somebody just find out? But I think diesel went up by 46 shillings per liter and 29 cents per liter, and petrol went up by 16 shillings per liter. Now, that pushed diesel to around 240 something shillings, and petrol, when you have your own car like Giovanni, now if you go to the pump station, 1 liter is 214 Kenya shillings. So to put 5 liters of gas, that is 1,000 shillings. You will need 1,000 shillings to put 5 liters of fuel in your car. Now, did the matatu industry respond adequately? I think the answer is yes, because people like my friends here in the panel have got cars, but they cannot demonstrate. They cannot protest. Matatus have got an association called the Matatus Owners Association, and they have a chairman who can organize and mobilize the Matatus nationwide to strike. So this was a very successful strike as per by the standards of the strikes that have been happening. It is unfortunate that properties were not protected by the government. The government ought to have protected the people who were striking, and the businesses that were at risk ought to have been protected by the same government. Now, for the CES of internal security to flip it and try and compare the strike with what happened during Uhuru's time. It is the same thing that happened in Uhuru's time. I remember there's a supermarket belonging to a Kikuyu that was burnt in Kisumu. So these are things that have been happening in our country, and we have let them happen for a very long time. It has become a normal thing, a new normal in our politics, that goons are used, property is burnt, and things are stolen, and politicians take advantage of each and every situation. Now, is Murkomen talking as a CS for internal security, or is talking on behalf of the government that he represents? He is talking on behalf of the government that he represents, and is also talking on a political angle. Is Mbadi addressing the situation of the surge of petrol price? No, he only addressed it by increasing the price and not explaining why he is increasing the price to the consumer, that is the Matatu industry, and people like me and you who use who use Matatus on a daily transport. So this frustration is what now you see on the streets. Kenyans have been boiling in frustration. So how you are going to hear your views, or to picket, or to demonstrate outside there, it is up to you. But you ought to also be careful that when you are doing this demonstration, you don't interfere with people's property. You don't loot, and you don't ban stuff, and you show a clear route where you are going to demonstrate. I think before they announced all this demonstration, they must have presented their route for demonstration, and the police ought to have been there. So I blame the CS for internal security for not providing and protecting properties that belong to Kenyans and hardworking business people. And I also praise the Matatus industries for highlighting the problem that is affecting the country at the moment. For the goons who destroys people's property, I think that was very, very wrong, and that should not happen in future. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Bwana moderator,
Yes.
can
Welcome,
I say
Jeremiah.
something before you introduce the other speaker?
Yes.
I think you should moderate our time. Muzalendo is taking too long to give his points. You should moderate time. We should give time so that we cannot get bored of a point. He should be able to to conclude his points, not in prose form,
Okay,
but
thank
in
you.
point form.
Thank you. You're saying something?
Yeah, there's someone who has not contributed. I've seen him on the left side of myself.
Nasema Kefa.
Kefa.
Oh, yes.
Say something.
I'm here following you one-on-one. Just following you the whole of this one-on-one. Kwa pamoja.
Kefa, ulikuwa ground.
Ground mimi since wanifanye mbaya I didn't go. Just was getting reviews from my people when walikuwa huko.
Okay. Jeremiah, how are you, sir?
Niko salama kabisa.
Murkomen anasema ni serikali tu inalengwa, hakuna kitu ya mtu imeharibika, ni vitu za serikali peke yake na wale ambao wanakuwa like the government. Is it true or is just defending the government? because highlight only vitu ambazo ziko allied na wale watu wako kwa government, kama supermarket, akataja gari za serikali ambazo zinafanya kazi, wale contractors ambao wanafanya kazi ya serikali, vile vile akataja ofisi ya UDA, akataja gari ambayo ilikuwa na gadgets za UDA, and I was asking where to. Okay, Murkomen yako sawa ama ni hizo tu ziliweza kuharibiwa siku ya leo kwa maandamano ya matatu?
This is what I can tell you, if you follow a pattern, right? A pattern always tells you a story. Okay? If you listen to that pattern, the things that he mentioned, right? The things that he mentioned, both public and private property that were damaged, it shows you a pattern that they are specific. There is what you'd say a common denominator. Either you are pro-government or you are government itself or something like that. Those are the things that were being damaged. Now, that he can spin as a politician, right, to try to drive a narrative. Now, when I said earlier on that politicians ride on any situation to score political points, that statement was not limited to just one side of the political divide. It applies for both sides. The government would actually do some things to make the other side look bad and then come back and say, hey, look what they did. It happens, right? But the bottom line of all that is that we have made politics play a role in an economic situation, a situation that should have been addressed, economically. And that's where I keep going back to saying that the government hasn't done a good job in communicating intervention, if any, that they are doing for this. For example, Mbadi should not have been on a national radio or TV broadcast this morning, okay? And he knew that people are going to strike and talk about his political, challenges in his, in his own political home of ODM. Because that's what he did this morning. He was on radio this morning, on TV this morning, and he was talking about the challenges that he's facing in ODM. What he should have been actually coming out to communicate was putting on his CS, treasury hat and tell guys, hey, look, you guys, this is a global problem. This is a situation that is not our doing, and there's very little we can do about it. However, we understand your pain, and this is what you're going to do. Like I said earlier on, look at the unnecessary levies on the cost of fuel. Put a moratorium on those for a period of 2 months and say for the next 2 months, the road, development levy that is on fuel, we are not going to take that. For the next 2 months, affordable housing levy that has been levied on cost of fuel, we are not going to do that. For the next 2 months, the universal health care levy that is levied on cost of fuel, we are not going to do that. Those come up to about a total of 17 Kenya shillings. So we are going to remove those levies, which means that our fuel is going to be less costly by 17 shillings. I mean, something like that. I'm no, treasury expert, but that is something that Kenyans would have appreciated. But he didn't do that, okay? Instead, he addressed his personal, political challenges on a national TV. So that's the problem that I have.
So was Winnie wrong? Was Winnie Odinga wrong when he addressed Mbadi that hiyo si ofisi ya siasa bwana? So Winnie was right.
I would not want to answer those because, again, those are two different conversations. One is political, one is purely economical, and the situation Kenyans are facing. So whether she was right or not, if I mix it with my statement, then I'm missing the point I'm trying to make. And the point I'm trying to make is that forget ODM, forget UDA, forget what Kenyans are hurting because the cost of fuel is higher than what they can afford. what is the problem? How can we fix it, right? So if I don't want to answer the situation with Winnie and whether she was right or not, I think I would be missing, I would not make my point, right? But what I would say is that Mbadi missed, not just Mbadi really, the government missed a great opportunity to communicate to Kenyans what intervention are they doing to stop this pain that people are feeling at the pump. And even Murkomen himself today, in that statement that he gave, we should have even brought out something that, yes, we understand and we are sorry for all the losses that has happened. However, as a government, we are going to sit back and try and communicate tomorrow. What are we doing to fix this problem? The problem is that they are not telling us what they are doing to fix it. We understand it's a problem. We understand it's a global problem. We understand that, it's not their doing. We understand that it's something they cannot do anything about. But at least tell us internally as Kenyans, what are you doing to just make our situation slightly more comfortable than it is? That is all they need to do, to be honest. That's what, if I were the president, that's what I would do.
Thank you. Sometimes these things comes to be funny. Okay, wale ambao waliweza kuandamana leo ni wanachama wa matatu associations ama ni wale ambao wanangoja tu maandamano iko lini ndio tudandie tupate kila ambacho tunaweza kupata? Are they matatu associates? An open question.
I can add on that, according to Didi, watu wa matatu today wana strike. Wao walikuwa wame strike, wameweka gari zao kando, wamechill. So wenye walikuwa pale kwa barabara nini ni common mwananchi, ndo wale walikuwa huko. Like most of the matatu unaweza pata ni kama 20% ndo walikuwa pale nje, but mwananchi ndiye alikuwa pale protesting, like tuseme 70% ndo walikuwa pale nje, according to me.
Okay. Alex.
First and foremost, there are things I need us to agree on.
Yes.
We have underlying issues as a nation. We are not yet a nation, and we are bedeviled by the likes of our tribe, our economic status, and above all, who we are. What kind of a person are we? What are our morals? And when I look at the situations and the issues that are being raised currently in our nation as of now, I heard Jeremiah saying that he's unapologetically pro-Ruto. I would love to have a conversation with him face to face, so that he can be able to narrate to me, walk with me, tell me, like, and engage me in a candid way. What is there in Ruto that actually helps us as a nation? Not only Luos as a tribe or as a part nation, where you're coming from, because most of my friends who are Luos, they are saying that they are supporting the current administration by virtue that wamepelekewa maendeleo. However, when you look at the constitution, it is very candid, it's very outright, and it says that it is our right. Development is our right. I remember Orengo one time stood and said that Baba and the likes of Kinamuite, Orengo, and the likes of Shikuku, they fought for that going forward. Like that we are all entitled to a certain element of development. Now, where we find there is no enough development, because as we can say about the national government, vis-a-vis the local government, what the local government can be able to achieve in terms of development is over 75%. But when you look at the local, the national government, it is supposed to give only 25% and spread it out within the country. Now, the 75% you find within our local government, we are not doing, the county government, that is the local government, we are not doing enough. We are not calling, and we are not calling our governors and our leaders to account. Now, people visit our counties here, in particular in Mrima. You'll find that our governors from Kiambu to Kirinyaga and the likes of Kangata, they are overly doing what is supposed to be done according to what they are mandated to be to do, and they are constantly called to attention and to account by the electorate. That does not mean that in the entire scope of Mount Kenya, all our governors are performers. People like Cecil Barile, she's a work. I don't think she even understands what her scope of doing business is. Now, what I'm saying as Ben and as Giovanni, I cannot afford not to be with my friends who are Luos. I cannot. I work with them daily. I do with them business. Most of them, they offer services to me. Like my mechanic is a Luo. Where I take my car shine is a Luo. The person who sells and my spares is a Luo. Most of my friends and my workers are Luos, and most of my customers too. I have a lot of customers who are Luos, and I can tell you that I cannot afford personally as an individual not to be in the proper relationship with Luos. Now, you'll agree with me, and you will Mzalendo, and in particular sana Jeremiah, unisamehe wakati ule ninasema hii, but when the likes of Kina Oburu raises up and says that Wakikuyu si marafiki wetu because walifanya Jaramogi, whatever they did, it is true. It is an historical injustice. It is there. It is documented. We cannot wish it away. It is there. However, we were not there. We are the children of our forefathers. It happened back then. Now, Uhuru tried a lot to bridge up the gap wakati ule alikuwa najaribu kuleta ile BBI, na wakati ule alikuwa analeta baba karibu. They really fought for that we can be able to work together as two nations called the Luos and the Kikuyus, but it never happened. But it walijaribu. Now, when Badi anasimama anaanza kukashifu wa Kikuyu, wakati ule anaitwa nani, Murkomen anaanza kutoa statement aki-insinuate that the Kikuyus are in a particular way profiling the Kalenjin because the Kalenjins are in power. What we need always to ask ourselves, the people who brought the Kalenjins into power, brought back the Kalenjins into power, are the Kikuyus. Now, Luos may have a reason why they are a bit uncontented not contented with the choices of Kikuyus, but not more so with the Kalenjins, because the Kikuyus have done more for the Kalenjins than they have done for the Luos. Now, you excuse maybe my manners a bit, wakatule hiyo kitu inanisumbua, because this is the elephant in the room. We need to address it. The tribalism, it is growing us, it is growing our bones. Wakatule tuna rise up, tunaanza kusupport a regime that it is killing our children, killing our business, killing our livelihood. And just because inaegemea upande wetu kama Wakikuyu, inaegemea upande wetu kama Wajaluo, I think we are missing the point. I think I'll have a problem with someone who rises up and becomes, and that is what I use the word disingenuous, because in the actual sense, the truth of the matter is, it's not about the Luos, it's not about the Kalenjins, it's not about the Kikuyus. The person ambaye anaumia, ile mkate unanunua ukiwa Mjaluo, ukiwa pale Korogocho, ndio the same bread mimi nanunua nikiwa Mathare. Ndio the same bread inanunuliwa na mtu ambaye ako Kitengela, ule ambaye ako Kilimani. So the truth of the matter is, we need to address the issues that are bedeviling us, the issues that are unakuta they are going back to the real persons ambazo sisi kama wa Kenya ni ukabila. If we can be able to address those issues and accept na kukubaliana that the things that really matters to us, it's not about whether there is a Kalenjin that is leading us, whether there is a Luo that is leading us, whether and the Gen Zs are leading us on that way. And it is very, very pathetic that we as the senior members or the middle senior members in this particular essence, because the Gen Zs are our younger brothers or even our children, and they are leading us in terms of identifying what is the right way to go. But sisi tunaanza kuamka tunasema Wakikuyu. I have friends ambao ni Wajaluo na wananiambia live, mimi mahali ambao Mkikuyu anapiga kura, mimi siwezi piga hapo. Mimi mahali ambao Mjaluo anapiga kura, mimi siwezi piga hapo. And that is total rubbish and bullshit. For me, I would wish that we look at the issues critically. We look at the leadership critically. Tuangalie na tuanalyze huyu Kasongo. Yes, we are talking about the Strait of Hormuz. But think about this. The issues these people are raising are not about the Strait of Hormuz. They're raising about the taxes, because there is what we are calling the landing cost of fuel when it lands in Mombasa. There is the arrangement of the G2G, which need to be addressed. This is what we are saying, and this is what the stakeholders are raising. They're saying that the moment the fuel lands in Mombasa, there is a huge disparity from what is the cost at the landing bay and what is being sold on the pipe or on the pump. So these are the issues that they are raising, and this is the issues that we as Kenyans I would love that we be able to address accordingly. But when we raise up and say, at mimi now I will support this kind of a leader, let's critically ask ourselves, is this the correct leader? Does he meet the standard within which we can call this is a good leader? This is someone who can be able to lead and mobilize us to a given destination. There's a guy, Mukomen today said that that when the fuel rose from I think from 120 or 110 to 135 at Uhuru's regime, there were no demonstrations, there were no strikes. One thing I need them to remember is that at that particular time, there is what we call the goodwill. Uhuru was a very good leader in this way. He was incompetent, but he was a very good politician. All these issues you see, they were brought by Uhuru, because in particular, he became very incompetent in terms of management of the government resources. Jamaa alikula right, left and center, ama alilala right, left and center, na alikula happy. Ulikuwa naamka asubuhi ameenda sijui wapi, ameenda Formula 1. So, but the man knew how to play his political cards. Aliita Raila, akamkaribisha karibu, wakawalk pamoja, and wakatule anything ilikuwa inaleta shida, Uhuru used to call the stakeholders and they talk and they work together. So what I'm saying, any leader, a leader is someone who is able to mobilize a nation to a given goal. Within this leadership of Ruto, it is autocratic. He wakes up, he decides this is the way forward. Mimi nataka kujenga Bombers of Kenya. He never, alipoamua kujenga Bombers of Kenya na kuiangusha chini, there was no particular public participation. The man just woke up and decided this is the way he's going to go. I'm sorry for my tirade, but what I'm saying is we need to address the elephant in the room, and that is we need to tone down on our tribal rhetoric. We need to agree and accept that we should be looking for a leader. Akuwe Mjaluo, akuwe Mkikuyu, akuwe Mkamba, akuwe ni Sifuna. And huyu na ijalishi kama ametoka kwetu, huyu ndio tunataka atuongoze. Kikuyus decided that they are going against their own leader called Uhuru. And walianza kumtukana back in 2017. I'm telling you, immediately alipochukua usukani, Uhuru alitukanwa kwa Facebook mpaka katoka. And they decided they are not going to listen to that person. The Kalenjins are against even their own leaders in particular as of now. You cannot tell me that mtu anaitwa DCP na ni mtu anafaa kuwa anachukiwa sana, hata hiyo jina DCP. But he was able to garner 10,000 votes at the backyard of UDA. So what I'm saying is the nation is totally wamechoka. I live in Kitengela. Now let me tell you something, as there was a guy who said this. Almost like 70% of those people who are coming out on demonstrations, they were, si watu wa matatu, ni mavijana, ni watu ambao wamechoka. I rest my case.
Thank you so much. Asante sana wale wote ambao wanaendelea kutupata kwa kusikiza yale ambayo sisi wenyewe tunayasema, kwa sababu wengi wamekuwa wakitazama mtandao, na sasa wadadisi wa siasa na vile vile wadadisi wa mambo ya masuala ya wananchi wakizungumza hapa tu kwenye Africa 24 TV. Kila siku jiunge nasi ndiposa tuweze kuelekeza na kujua yale ambayo yanajiri kila siku. Asante sana kwa muda wako ambao umeweza kuchukua nasi. Tutakuwa tunashirikiana na vile vile maoni yako. Kuna maswali kadha wa kadha ambayo yamekuwa yakiulizwa hapa, lakini mwisho wa siku tutakuwa tunayauliza tukienda kumaliza mjadala wa siku ya leo. Na naomba watazamaji wote, naomba kwamba muweze kujiunga nasi ndiposa tuweze kuzungumzia maswala haya kwa umoja na kwa ukaribu. Hapa Africa 24 TV kila siku ya Jumatatu, weekendi, wote tuko hapa kuanzia saa 3:30 hadi mida ambayo tutakuwa tunamalizia, lakini mwisho wa siku tutakuwa tunayasema yote ambayo yameibuka, na vile vile kama leo tumeyazungumzia mafuta yameenda juu, vile vile maandamano imetokea, yote yamezungumzwa. Lakini suala ambalo limeweza kuleta utata na vile vile imepigwa vichwa vya habari ni kwamba kuna vyama hapa Kenya. We have political parties. Tulikuwa na chama ambacho kufika sasa kiko juu kwa miaka, ni chama cha KANU, kiko DP, kuna ODM, lakini kwa sasa vyama ambavyo vinazungumzwa ni ODM, Wiper, UDA na Jubilee na DCP vile vile. Lakini wanasema kwamba wale wadadisi ambao wamefanya masuala haya ya hesabu wanasema kwamba DCP kufika sasa iko juu zaidi kwa vyama vyote hapa Kenya. Na chama cha UDA imeweza kushuka zaidi kwa vyama ambavyo vilikuwa vya juu hapa Kenya, ikifuatwa na chama cha ODM, na vile vile Wiper iko pale, haisongi chini, haisongi juu. Kwa maoni tu kama nyinyi wapenda siasa na vile vile wadadisi wa siasa hapa Kenya, kivingine kwamba wengine ni wakubwa wa kimiaka, wamekaa katika siasa kwa masiku hivi. Mnaona kwamba ni nini haswa inafanya mambo kama haya yanaendelea kukua hivi? Kwa sababu chama kama ODM imeweza kuanguka zaidi, na vile vile ukisimama hivi unasema hapana. Na chama cha Jubilee kilikuwa katika uongozi kwa miaka 10, na sasa inataka kuja na candidate ambaye anatafuta urais. Hii ni mojawapo ya namna ya kuleta chama iwe katika hali nzuri. Na tukiangalia by elections ambazo zimekuwa zikifanyika, vyama ambavyo vimekuwa vikishindana ni chama cha DCP na chama cha UDA. Wapi chama cha Jubilee? Kama Ole Karau. Ole Karau, mbunge ambaye aliweza kuaga ni mbunge wa Jubilee, lakini shockingly Jubilee haina mwaniaji. Tukiengea MCA seats zote ambazo zimeweza kupigwa kura tangia tangia by elections ianze, Jubilee imeenda na mingi, na DCP chama mpya imepata kiongozi. Tukikuja Emurua Dikir. Emurua Dikir ni nyumbani mwa William Samoei Ruto, ndio aliyashinda, lakini 10,000 kutoa kwako nyumbani sio rahisi. Mbona Jubilee, mbona ODM na mbona DCP ishike kasi na vyama vingine viweze kuanguka? Jeremiah, una lolote la kuzungumzia political parties?
Anything I say would be largely my opinion. I'm not an expert political analyst, so I'll just share what I'm thinking. I mean, just like you've mentioned, all of these parties are at different stages of growth, and they are at different stages of maturity. And even like a natural human being, the challenges you face when you are born, when you're still crawling, are not similar to the challenges that a child who is already going to class 1 or class 2 is facing, and is not similar to the challenges that a young adult who is in Form 1, Form 2 is facing. The different stages of life present different challenges, and the lives of our political parties. For example, ODM is going through a very, very serious, tumultuous, period of transition. And everything, whether it's in business or any other spheres of life, when you're going through a serious transition, as serious as having lost your leader who you really believed in, the things we are seeing in ODM will happen. People start grappling for space. You almost look like you're losing your touch. But if you stick with it, you'll probably recover and things will be better. And I project that happening to ODM after the 2027 elections. DCP is a new party, and everywhere we know something new is always exciting. So people are really still excited about this DCP, and they are really, they are really starting to understand it. So it's a new thing. So it's bound to have a high level of attentiveness and attraction amongst the people. That's their stage in growth. Then UDA, they've been in power, and the stage at which they are is they've lived through their life cycle of 5 years almost. It's almost over. And the way we know Kenya, these parties, they come and they go. Something tells me that UDA is probably going to fade out slowly, the same way TNA faded, and then we ended up with Jubilee, but the same people. Something tells me that by the time we are reaching the elections, probably UDA won't be there, but there will be something of what remains of UDA and some other affiliation somewhere that will come up with another outfit. So it's just a part of the process of their development that they are going through. Jubilee, on the other hand, is almost suffering the same issue like the issues of Ford Kenya, and Wamala's party is called whatever it was called. They have reached a point where they have loyalists, but they don't have people on the ground. The loyalists don't want to go and start struggling for space with other people who've already taken up space somewhere else. So they say, let's stick with ours and hope that we'll be able to get some, bargaining power eventually and negotiate power when the time comes. So that's the phase where they are in terms of the life cycle of a political party. So I don't want to say that UDA is in a good place, or DCP is in a good place, or ODM is in a bad place. They are all evolving, and I think we'll know the true position of each one of them or groupings of them when the election time comes. That's what I would say about that. But to sort of a rejoinder on Giovanni's tirade, I think that he's raising a good point. As much as it was here, is there, is all over the place in his tirade, but the underpinning, statement was that we need to, take tribalism by the horn. I agree with him totally. And I support a united Kenya, a Kenya that tribe doesn't play a role in us electing a leader, but their qualification, their capability to deliver or to lead us. So I agree with him on that. However, just to sort of give him the position and the mindset of where generally where there is a big problem amongst the Luo people in terms of trusting Kikuyus, vice versa, because aside from the rivalry between the Kikuyus and the Luos, there is no other long-standing mistrust amongst these people. The problem, Giovanni, let me tell you this, and I don't have a monopoly over the feelings of all the Luo people, but every Luo that I know will tell you that the problem we have, and this has been brought out by a good number of Kikuyu political leaders. There is this, I don't know whether it was 1969 or which year it was, that an oath was taken that no one will lead Kenya, especially not a Luo, except a Kikuyu. Now, Luos extend the olive branch to Kikuyus several times. Baba said, Kibaki Tosha. What's his name? Jaramogi said, you know what? I don't want to be president until you release Kenyatta from detention. And there's so many other instances I can mention. But what we feel, and I have a very high level of certainty that this is the case, is that the oath, because we understand how the Kikuyu take seriously the oath they take, we know that the oath that the Kikuyus took at that time does not allow the Kikuyu people to interact with specifically the Luos with the level of upfrontness, with the level of forthrightness, and with the level of equal partner that Luos do when they're interacting with Kikuyus. And the more this persists, the more Luos keep getting convinced that this is the case. Kikuyus will not work with us because they took this oath. And even today, if you listen to one of the speakers, I think he's an elected member or something like that in London, where Rigiji was having a banquet for Kenyans in London. And this was last week already, it was today. This guy was saying that, you know what, Ruto, Kikuyus did not vote for you because they love you. Kikuyus voted for you because they did not like where Uhuru was taking us to this Jaluo. You understand? So, and this is today. So, Giovanni, I understand your pain in trying to fight this tribal thing, but we as Luos, I think we do our part every time, because one of the things, as Luos, and I think that's why a lot of your service providers are Luos, you trust us. We tell you we're going to do it, and we will do what we will tell you. We don't, connive and, mislead and all. We tell you you're going to do A, rest assured you're going to get A. If we tell you you're going to do C, you're going to get. And that's why a lot of your service providers are Luos, because you trust us. But there is a general feeling amongst us as Luos that the oath that was administered by Kikuyus in 1969, I think, I might be wrong on the year, hinders you from being forthright when you're dealing with Luos, especially when it comes to matters politics. And so trust me, that is the issue. For us, we will reach out anytime and every time, and we've demonstrated so many times that we can, you know, bridge the divide. But we feel like Kikuyus are hindered by that oath. So until and unless that element of the oathing is out of the window, I think the political mistrust between the Luos and the Kikuyu is going to persist. I think we just have to live with it, because outside of politics, and like you said it yourself, in business, Kikuyus trust a Luo because they know if a Luo says, I'm going to give you this, you're going to get that. And Luos trust Kikuyus that if I give him what he wants, he's going to pay me, which is the case. So in business, we thrive, but in politics, we just can't. And it's unfortunate that's where we are. And there is nothing. I feel your pain. We also feel the pain, but we feel like we are trying to reconcile with a partner who is not really forthright in terms of reconciliation, because they are being hindered by that oath. Let me tell you a story. I went to visit a friend in Githunguri. He's a very good friend of mine. Inside Githunguri, and do you know that his grandmother is still, alive and very old? Do you know he told us, he called me and some other friends, who are non-Kikuyus, and told us, hey, nani shosho, when you're talking, usiseme weni Mjaluo. You understand? Usiambie shosho asijue wewe ni Mjaluo, just sema hata wewe ni Mkamba or something like that. You understand? And this is not too long ago, barely 3-4 years ago. So that tells you the level. But I can guarantee you go to deep inside Kisumu or Migori or Siaya or Karungu or Ndewa, where Mzalendo comes from, even if you're a Kikuyu, a grandmother would not even care really. It really doesn't matter. Ukimwambia ama Kikuyu, ama what. And that's why you find a lot of Kikuyu ladies getting married to us, right? But not the vice versa. I feel your pain, I feel your pain, but there's very little you can do it if the oathing element still lingers in the background of our Kikuyu brothers.
Can I support you what you're saying, bro?
Go ahead.
Jeremiah. Yes.
Go ahead.
What I support you totally in what you said, and you have brought it in a new way, in a new dimension, not earlier presented. And what you said is true. And I think the only thing you forgot is that, in as much as also our grandmothers have a problem with the issues of the people from the lake, there is also that element from your people when they come across the tribal Kikuyu. And pia niongeze kidogo niseme that yes, you marry from our tribe, but also things are already changing, and they are changing fast. My younger brother married a Luo and from Siaya, and this is happening, and the only way, and you asked if your oath wa Kikuyu, not sio sisi tulichukua. Those oaths were taken by our grandfathers. They are not even taken by our fathers. Our fathers back then, I think they were just boys. If my father was around 1950 something, na ilichukuliwa around 65, 63, 64, 65, within that range, ni kumaanisha alikuwa only 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years. So vijana mababa zetu, they never took the oath. The oath was taken by our grandfathers. And as you understand the concept of the curses and the blessings, they have to go through generations. And yes, and as I spoke earlier with on our WhatsApp platform, that yes, we are paying for the sins of our forefathers. However, we should not take this thing further and reignite the karmic cycle. Because if we did that, if you do that also, what you are doing is your children and your children's children now watakuwa wana live in the same cycle we are living in. We need to break the cycle. That's why unakuta hata kwa Bible inasema that God atawabariki ama atawakasi, blessings zitaingia mpaka the third to fourth generation, and curses the same way. So if we can be able to break that, and that is what is happening right now. I've told you that my brother, my younger brother, ameoa Kisumu, ameoa Siaya. They are blessed with 4 children, and that is what is happening right now. The young people, they don't care about tribes. The only thing because we are approaching total integration. And it was very pathetic for someone to the stature and to the age of someone like Oburu to rise up na kuongea kitu ambao aliongea, which I am 100% sure ndugu yake angeongea. No wonder the older brother served the younger brother. Ni kumaanisha the younger brother alikuwa he was visionary. Alikuwa amepewa vision na God kuliko mwingine. I agree with what the sentiments, and these are things we need to work on. And if we can be able to have these kind of platforms so that we can be able to agree on those kind of things. And yes, hiyo oath ilichukuliwa na walikunywa, but hao ndio walikunywa. However, by virtue of karma, it affects us even to the present day. And the only way we can be able to break it up, is for us being able to incorporate. What Medhu said, I think it was taken out of context. He just spoke what was true. That the true position of the Kikuyus was that, no, he said partially truth and partially untruth. I won't say false, but untruth. Wakikuyu in 2022, they were led by 2 agendas. One, they hated the Uhuru regime. They hated Uhuru. Uhuru betrayed their trust. Uhuru betrayed anything ambao alikuwa amechaguliwa na Kikuyu aende afanye. That is one. 2.
And what was that?
Huh?
What was that he was sent to go and do that he didn't do? That made
To
Kikuyus hate him.
Yes, to lead and guide. You know, Uhuru aliachia Ruto uongozi. The first 5 years, and if you go look at Maina Commander and the likes of the Kikuyus, what the leaders ambao walikuwa hiyo time, utakumbuka vile walikuwa nasema that every time they used to go to look for Uhuru alikuwa anawaambia enda muongee na William. You remember 2017 kulikuwa na nini ya Jubilee, kulikuwa na inaitwa nini ile nomination ya Jubilee. It was a fracas. It was a facade. It was something ambayo ilikuwa cooked and cooked. It was a total shamble, a concoction of evil things and bad things. And then Ruto made it appear that way so that anaweza kuchagua watu wake ambao walikuwa anataka kuchagua. So when the leaders who were ejected kina Kabogo and the likes and ABCD walienda kwa Ruto, kwa Uhuru kumwambia, kunaendeleaje, kufanya nini, kufanyaje? You know what happened? Uhuru used to tell them, nendeni muongee na William, enda muongee na William. The first 5 years, Uhuru was incompetent, absolute. I think the right word to use is nincompoop. And that is exactly what the man appeared to be. And the only person and even what kuja bado huyu jamaa aliendelea kupora inji. Uhuru mnapenda Uhuru, but Uhuru was the worst president we have ever had. Uhuru might even be worse than even Ruto afadhali yule tulikuwa tunajua tayari ni mbaya. Uhuru ni ule mtu ambaye anafanya mabaya alafu anakuja na kupiga ma high five alafu akicheka anakuonyesha vile ni mzuri. Vitu zikiharibika anaita huyu anawaongelesha alafu anacheka kidogo anawaambia tumeongea and then life goes on. Alikuwa anatukunywa na anatukula kama panya vile inaumanga ikipuliza. That is the main reason Kikuyus hated and refused to listen and to heed to Uhuru. That is 1. 2, the element of the Luo thing. And as I told you about the Kama thing, kwa sababu walipokaa chini wakaamua kuchukia kabila fulani because ya ABCD na wakakunywa na wakakula kiapo ndio Mjaluo asiyeiongoza, they never knew that it is also going to go against them in one way or the other, because the Luos after 202, Luos in 207 were very, very, very prominent when they were sending the agenda of 41 against 1. The same people you work against, they are the same people who will work against you. So the same thing kama sasa hivi Wajaluo mnaendelea kuchukia Wakikuyu. Hawa Wakikuyu ndio watazidi bado kuendelea kuangamiza. So the best way to move forward is to forgive, you may not forget, but forgive and be able to build upon a good and a prosperous and a one united nation. I agree. The hatred of the Luos was also an agenda ambayo ilipropel Wakikuyu kutovotia baba. However, it was not all lost, because someone like me, I voted for baba, and many and even wazee wengi sana huko Ocha. However, baba pia hakuweza kutinga na kulinda kura yake huko mlimani. That was also a very great undoing. That was an Achilles heel on his part. But baba aliweza kuchaguliwa with over 1 million Kuyuni, something that has never happened also. The reason also pia baba kuchaguliwa, the Luos also, you people, you don't come out. You don't mobilize your people. Kikuyus, when they decide to go to war, my friend, wanabebanga mpaka ule ambaye kwa karibu kukufa wanaenda kupiga kura. You know? Now, I agree with your sentiments, and I pray that God atusaidie, and you know, I respect you a lot, and I like and I love debating with you because you are sober. The only thing nimesema na Mungu atusaidie, siku moja tu ndani ya masiku mingi tukue na forum, uweze kunieleza what is it that you see in Ruto that you did not see in 2022 you are seeing now, when he is killing our children, when he is killing our economy, when he is killing our livelihood, when he is killing our future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mzarendo, what about our Kenyan political parties?
You know, first of all, the speaker who was complaining that I take a lot of time, I was just timing him. He has taken almost 30 minutes
Exactly.
to deliberate.
Kumbe ni nafasi alikuwa anataka. Ni attention.
He has taken 30 minutes to deliberate the point between the Luos and the Kikuyus. I don't know why we are being dragged into this old generation politics. We belong to a certain group of boomers right now, Ben. I don't want you to think like your grandfather or your great-grandfather. We belong to another generation of thinkers. We are moving towards AI, and things and information is all over. We want to make we want to have solutions. If you want to bring solutions back in the years in the 60s or in the 50s, they might not be compatible to my kind of thinking. So we need to differentiate that Kenyatta at his time, he was thinking in that time of generation. Raila Odinga left us at a point, then we need to move from that point to another. Just like Nelson Mandela left South African at a point, South Africans at a point, they need to move away from Nelson Mandela. You hardly hear people talking about Nelson Mandela to date. Political parties are on a transition. One, UDA, and UDA is the ruling party at the moment. Time and again, our politics has taught us that the ruling party never forms the next government, meaning they form coalitions with the new political vehicles to form government. So these political parties are structured in a manner that they are only means to form government, but they are not for sustainability, and they don't represent the interest of the people, but they represent the interest of the politician at that particular moment to form a vehicle for his quest for the top seat. ODM, and I predicted this a long time. Many people, like my brother here, would not agree with me that ODM will be destroyed by the exit of Raila Odinga, because one, we were meant to believe, and we believe that Raila is ODM and ODM is Raila Odinga, and they kept on singing that. Then when Baba says this is right, is always right. When Baba says we jump, we jump. We ask him how high. When Baba says we go left, we go left. When he says right, we go right. When Baba shuts down the government, it's an holiday for Kenya. Now, post Raila Odinga, the Luos are finding themselves in a very unfamiliar territories. Like they need a guidance. They were used to being guided. So, who is the most immediate, prominent person who can guide the Luo community? They have looked around and seen that it is only William Ruto who is close
Babu,
to power and can guide them. So
Babu
they are
Owino.
Babu. I will come to Babu Owino at some point. Babu Owino is still a toddler in this game. Is still walking. Is still crawling. He will start walking very very soon. Just like a Raila Odinga, he was a toddler at some point. Then he started walking, and the people held him strongly, and he became the symbol of the Luo community. But we are running away. We need to run away. Aleki, I am shocked that you support Babu Owino. Maybe I will ask you, why do you really support Babu Owino? Do you support him because he's a Gen Z, or do you support him that he represents the future of Kenyan politics? There are two things here. Babu represents the future, according to me, of Kenyan politics and how the youth think about politics. Babu represents not the Luo community, but Kenya, how we want Kenya to be governed. Where he's losing the point is that is looking for a position which I feel that we should all run away from. The issue of kingpin should not be discussed in any political forum. That I want to be the kingpin of the Kikuyu community. That is introduction of tribal politics. When you see somebody uh, positioning themselves as leaders of the Kikuyu community. That is a leader of the Kikuyu community. He cannot be a leader of the Kenyan community. He will prioritize his community first. So how do you expect their cabinet to look like? Their cabinet will be composed of members of his clan or his tribe. So we are running away. We want to move away from tribal politics. I think this is the last generation of tribal leaders that we have. Gachagua, and I wrote you saw what I wrote, Ben, and you were like, "Are you for real? What are you talking about?" I am telling you, there are people above the presidency in each and every country in the world. They decide the world order. They decide who becomes who. You don't meet them. You don't know them. The president does not even have to meet them. They call the shots. They say Giovanni must be president of Kenya in 2028. They will engineer that. They will re-engineer your thinking. For you to see Oburu talking the way he is talking, it is a political engine that has been put there through propaganda, NIS, everything. The government controls all these arms that can re-engineer the thinking of a particular movement. You must also remember that the role of CIA, the role of Mossad, the Mossad, all those things are within the Kenyan society. It is not that they are not there; they are there. They are there, but we think like the president is the ultimate decision in politics, or the opposition leader is the ultimate decision in politics. Then we look at the international community. What is their influence in politics in our country? They have a lot of interest and they have a lot of influence. Just like America has got a lot of interest in Israel, they will be having a lot of interest in Africa on the issues that they want to be passed around, and the person that to pass around that particular agenda, even if it means to topple that government of the day. So there are so many things that go around in politics that is beyond our pay grade, that we only watch and say, hey, how did this happen? Huyu aliiba kura, aliibiwa aje, ilifanyika namna gani? Mbona hao Wakikuyu? Nikawauliza, I asked you guys a simple question. Nobody is able to answer this question. In 2022, Uhuru na Ruto walikosania ndo nini? Can you give me anything tangible walikosania? Then in after 2022, Ruto na Gachagua wamekosania nini? Hebu niambie wamekosania nini ile that could not be rectified. Ati this guy is a very tribal leader, sijui nini. And at the same time, they campaigned on the tribal platform that you bring the Kikuyu community, I'll bring the Kalenjin community, I'll bring. So this guy becomes very, very tribal, akiingia kwa serikali na kukuwa deputy president. Then it becomes a problem in the same government. Look at the history between Ruto and Uhuru. What was the problem between Ruto and Uhuru? It is an engineered problem that is created. Then we all think that there is a problem. Then we are all behind the guy who is being bashed, called William Ruto Naonewa. That is the Kenyan thinking mentality. Then we all rally behind it, and then we vote for this other guy. Then they create the same problem. Then we rally behind Gachagua. To date, as I analyzed for you earlier, the numbers are speaking volumes. Gachagua is the number 2 in this country in terms of political formation and distribution of political seats in Kenya. By the time we go into elections in 2027, Gachagua will be having Gachagua's party will be the strongest political party in Kenya. And why are they insisting that Gachagua has to be the presidential candidate? Do you know why? He's not there to win. He's not there to win the presidency. He knows it's beyond him. But that is a bargaining chip for his tribe and his political movement. So the first person who will be called on the table to form government in 2027 when Ruto wins is Gachagua. Take that to the bank, utapatiwa loan na Equity na utaenda kujenga nayo kama hujajenga.
That's very far-fetched.
Yeah,
Jeremiah, what do you think?
that is
No,
exactly what we do.
I agree with him. These guys, they just play their games, and they 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 put wananchi in very, very awkward situations where you are fighting somebody, you don't know why you are fighting him, but them, they know what they're doing. So to that extent, I agree with him. The only thing I want to tell my brother, and there are realities, there are things that are there that you cannot change. Like for now, we cannot say that we are not on this platform debating politics. It is happening. It is real, right? The tribal card in Kenya, I think the generation, everyone who's alive in Kenya today, will not see a tribeless Kenya. I can guarantee you that. And again, like you said, take that to any bank, watakupatia loan ujenge nayo nyumba. The generation of Kenyans now will never see a tribeless Kenya. The tribeless Kenya will probably, they'll start getting born probably in 2100 na huko mbele, right? And generational, events take long, centuries, half a century, 2 centuries, 1.5 centuries, and things like that. So the problem that we all agree on here, that is tribalism, and what he's saying, for Luos oathing is not something that Luos do traditionally. It's not in our culture, right? We don't do it. On the other side, Kikuyu's oathing is something that is Kikuyu's oath to date. And I know that, Giovanni might not agree, but even to date, there are Kikuyus who still oath to for whatever reasons, for small reasons. And that is part of their culture, and they do it. And there is nothing wrong with that at all. It's part of who they are. When this mass oathing was done, it's barely half a century gone, right? And trust me, Giovanni might not believe in it, but if he doesn't believe in it, if he goes home, right, to the village, he cannot profess that he doesn't believe in oathing. Otherwise, he gets that communal curse, right? He cannot go and, for example, and he was very economical with the truth when he was trying to explain why Uhuru, Kikuyu did not stop. I just didn't want to stop him because it was his time to speak. But the real truth is that Uhuru was almost like going against the curse by trying to tell Kikuyus that let's make this Jaluo the president. And they said, no, this is an oath that you cannot break. It cannot, it's not something you cannot break now. So what's going to happen is that generations of Kikuyus, probably for the next 50 years or even more, will still be believing in this. They will still, by the time it starts disappearing, probably 50 years down the line. Now, what that means, and I'm saying this to try and answer my brother, Mzalendo. We, as Laws, we don't oath, and we don't, take an oath seriously. It's not in our culture. So we interact with our brothers who Kikuyus who believe in oathing. We go with a clean hand, we go with a clean heart, anticipating that they will be the same. Yes, they probably want to be clean heart and come with clean hands, but they go back to the oath. The oath will surface somehow. Either your uncle somewhere will say, hey, this you can't do that. This is, this is not what, how they police or regulate or enforce the whole thing, I don't know. But if you try to go against it, somebody somewhere will come up to you and urge you to correct course and try to go the right way. So whilst Luos try to really negotiate with Kikuyus without any hidden motives, generally coming with a clean hand, it's very difficult for Kikuyus in this generation to do that. They still go back to earth. And I keep saying it's going to take generations before that happens. And by the time it will be done, that the mistrust between Kikuyus and Luos will not exist, probably at that time, there won't be a Luo tribe, there won't be a Kikuyu tribe, people will be Kenyans. And that's a Kenya that any generation of Kenyan, any Kenyan who is alive today will not see. I can guarantee you that. But from our political arena right now, I agree with Mzalendo. Parties mutate. Parties go on a growth path. Like we said, you're born, you crawl, you walk, you run, you do all these things. Our parties are constantly evolving. The only party that almost became a household party was KANU, right? But then when multipartyism came, the wind swept KANU away with it. Then after KANU, ODM is the next party that actually stood the test of time and managed to stay on course for 20 plus years. Every other party that we see come and go. They come and go. And it's a big problem. It's going to be something that will hinder us from having ideological political discourse, but will perpetuate balkanizing tribal political discourse, in the sense that mimi ni Mkamba, natengeneza party, then I want to have all Kambas in my party. Somebody else is a Kisii, they create their party, they want to have all Kisiis in their party. And trust me, if you go into register political parties website now, we have numerous political parties, very, very, very many. And if you look at all of them, the common denominator in all of them is that they have stronger following within particular tribal zones. So if you find a party registered by Sonko, it's strong in Ukambani, right? If you find another party registered by Kuria, he's very strong in the central region. If you find a party registered by Ogendo in Luo Nyanza, if you go to Ndiwa, where Mzalendo comes from, he's very strong there. He has following there, So until the day we will stop having that, it's tribalism is going to happen. It's going to continue, being a force in our political, arena. Hopefully, we will get over it. But I can assure you that any Kenyan who is alive today will not see a tribeless Kenya. I don't think it will happen.
Thank you. Asante sana wale wote ambao wamekuwa wakitufuatilia kwa sasa. Africa 24 TV, kila siku tunapokutana hapa kuanzia mida ya 3:30 hadi mida ambapo tunafika tamati. Na washukuru sana wale wote ambao wamechangia mchango wa siku ya leo, kwa sababu leo tumekuwa na mjadala ambao umekuwa ukiguza wananchi moja kwa moja. Na vile nimeshukuru wote wageni wetu ambao wote wameweza kujiunga nasi siku ya leo, kama Africa 24 TV, vile kuna Nyanza Pulse, kuna True TV. Naomba kwamba muweze kuingia pale, muweze kusubscribe, kwa sababu haya tu ndiyo tunayoyasikiza kwa sasa, kwa sababu baada ya maandamano serikali imechukua fursa hiyo na kuweza kuzusha bei ya diseli kwa shilingi 10, na vile kuongeza bei ya mafuta taa kwa shilingi 30 na zaidi, na vile petroli imesalia vile. Kwa hivyo petroli itakuwa inauzwa kwa shilingi 214, na vile diesel itakuwa inauzwa kwa shilingi 238. Hayo ndio ya sasa, lakini naomba kwamba tuweze kushirikiana kuinua televisheni yetu ya kimtandao ya Africa 24 TV, vile vile True TV na Nyanza Pulse. Tutakuwa tunakupasha yale ambayo yanajiri kila kujao. Kwa hivyo kwa dakika moja, wageni wenzangu, mimi nitakuwa nawapa dakika moja kufunga, ndiposa tuweze kuwapa nafasi wageni wetu waweze kupeana moja. Nikianza naye Alex Ogega.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you, Mzalendo, Giovanni, na Jeremiah for joining us tonight. We have a big fan base on YouTube. We almost tumeclock almost 130 people watching, which is a good thing. Thank you to everyone mwenye anawatch Africa 24. Thank you everyone subscribing. Road to 400k views on YouTube, and now saizi road to 5,000, road to 10,000 subscribers. Otherwise, thank you for 2,000. We keep pushing, and God bless the platform.
Thank you. Giovanni.
Yes. Okay. The closing remarks.
Yes.
Thank you for everyone. Thank you for the moderator. You've been up to the task. Thank you for Jeremiah. As usual, candid and straightforward, shooting from the hip. Mzalendo, as always, your views are always sharp and decisive and concise. I remember when we started this show, maybe it goes back almost at the times ya wakati wa immediately, maybe probably wakati tu COVID ilikuwa inaanza. I remember Mzalendo akiniita, the first show ilikuwa I was driving Ocha, nikamwambia niko driving but nitaiweka hapa mbele, and I can see it coming all through the years. Ndio, we have been having our tipsy tappy ama inaitangwa tapsy tappy whatever, kizungu ilikuja na meli, and I can give thanks that na nilimwambia tusikufe moyo. We never know. We will fight on. We will give our all. Kizungu ile kidogo tulikuwa tunachanganyika nayo. Sahii Mungu ametuwezesha, tunamwongezea uzungu na Kiswahili, and we can be able to give our viewers a wider content, and I give thanks that God has been faithful, that we are able to articulate issues properly, in a proper way, in a mature way, and moving forward. I believe the sky can only be the limit. So for today, I was a bit heavily laden, in particular when the tribal sentiments were coming from right, left, and center. I don't think there is any other tribe which has gone through the blunt of tribalism than the Kikuyus. Sisi tumechapwa 1992 wakati wa tribal clashes, wakati wa Moi, tukachapwa 1997, but 1997 tulichapwa pamoja na Wajaluo Mombasa. I remember I was in Mombasa back then. Mimi nakumbuka Wajaluo waliuliwa sana, places zilikuwa zinaitwa Flamingo, and nakumbuka back then kuna place inaitwa Konsolata church in Likoni. I remember tulikuwa Wakikuyu na Wajaluo tumefungiwa huko ndani, and one thing I want to remind the Luo leaders in particular, if they can be able to listen, that today inaweza kuwa mnakashifu wa Kikuyu, tomorrow you'll open yourself and space the other tribes pia wataanza kuwakashifu, what happened to us back then, tulikuwa tunachapwa na watu wa Coast na walikuwa na castigatiwa na walikuwa na mobiliziwa na the Kalenjins back then through the leadership of Moi, that watu wote watoke waende, watu wa bara watoke huko, na wakatule Moi alitoka, hiyo story ya watu watoke bara huko Mombasa, the story iliisha. But the issue ya Wakikuyu bado iliendelea, hatred iliendelea, na 207, that's when we really went through our times and it was not a good thing. Sikatai, hata kabila zingine pia ziliumia, Wajaluo pia waliumia, and this is not a good thing. So I would strongly urge any leader, and not only any leader, because we are leaders in our own perspective and in our own self, like we are husbands, we are fathers, we are managers where we are, that we should always be able to send the message of that for that tribal tolerance. And yes, there are things that happened, as Mzalendo said, that we should not be able to dwell on them. They are historical. There were maybe those people were driven and they were informed by situations which were prevailing at that particular time, and they acted accordingly to that situations wherever they were. And we were not there. We are not privy to what was going on. And I will also want to highlight my friend Jeremiah, how sijui ni nani amemwambia that all think it's a common thing in Kikuyu land. On the contrary, all thing is a serious thing. People don't just oath, and oathing is a spiritual thing. And it is not something that happens each and every day in our I've never come across oathing in my even in my adult life. However, that does not mean to say that maybe there are not certain occasions like like those that happen. However, what I would urge us as a platform is that we should be able to propel oneness, direction, and purpose within our nation, and be able to give a candid directive to our viewers and to the entire following.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jeremiah.
Thank you so much. I think I was staffed for this platform. Mzalendo unalala kwa kazi. We used to have very good conversations every day. I think hata kama inakuwa mbaya, Alex, let's do this at least once every week, hata kama tuwezi fanya every day vile tulikuwa tunafanya kitambo. I'm not so big on football. So hiyo ingine mnapiganga mpira huko, saa zingine I join na napata hapa watu wanapiga, and I think Alex probably you wondered Jeremiah ameingia na ameenda, because naingia then naona ni mnapiga stories za ball, naona ni analysis ya ball, naona I don't belong here because I can't offer anything. So I think let's have a renaissance of sorts, Mzalendo, of this, and even if we agree once every week, and then we just carry on this and have, because the political temperatures and the political tempo in Kenya is already peaking. So what we are doing is actually going to start coming across as interesting and helping people to try and figure their way out in this political darkness of Kenya. So you kazi kwako Mzalendo, let's try and improve this. With that said, I think Giovanni, I'll take you up on your offer so that I can explain to you why I'm going with Ruto. And by the way, I only have two reasons why I'm supporting Ruto. One is that I feel like He's doing better than Uhuru, both first and second terms of Uhuru. I'm really, as I'm learning more, I'm really realizing that Uhuru was a mediocre president, and I'm getting to know that. Definitely, Kibaki was better. Moi was who he was, and Kenyatta was like that. So I feel like Ruto is probably opening a new era in terms of presidency. That is just my observation. The second reason is that, yes, he's not perfect. He's not an angel. He's not 100%. But when I look at the alternatives that we have, trust me, I don't see anything. I am comfortable with him as long as, and I said, and that's why I said Uhuru was mediocre and the other ones were like they were. I know that he's doing better than those guys in many instances that can be quantifiable, that are tangible. I don't want to get into that for now, but tukikutana ukinunua kahawa niambia I'll come to Kitengela one weekend, we explore that.
Please
But
do.
my biggest reason for supporting Ruto is I do not see a better alternative than him across the board. Anza sijui mimi ni Sifuna sijui all these guys. I don't think I see anyone who can lead Kenya after him. After let me not even say after him. Let me say after Uhuru. I don't see, because he's still running. I don't see an alternative that makes me think. I used to think that Kalonzo would have been a good option, but man, that guy is a disappointment. More than you even wonder why he's even survived in politics for this long. Sifuna and Siji Babu and all these guys, these guys are still young. They're still driven by emotions that cannot drive Kenya. Kenyan politics is so volatile. Ukiweka kwa nini kwa roho utaumia. Ule governor alisema weka wapi? Weka kwa lungs, right? So I don't think they are ready yet. And like Mzalendo said, the president is not the final owner of the country, my friend. Iko watu huko. You don't know them, you don't see them, you don't hear them. Hao ndo wenye nchi. The president is who they want to be. I don't think that caliber of leaders, they're promising. We hope that they will be good. And I'm disappointed a lot of our young leaders, even as we are right now. So that's why I'm very concerned about saying, oh, because the young guy, Maraga, very crisp. Put him into systems will work, but I don't think he has an iota of political threat in him. Hawezi survive politics tuamke hivi. He cannot survive for a day. But put him into a place where there are systems to operate, he can. Matiangi, I look at him, I'm like, you are just these people. Ninguo tumebadilisha. What's the difference between you and Ruto? See, you were their PS Interior when they were leading. The dots that you are complaining is doing now. Si mulikuwa mnafanya now. So what makes you think that I'm going to think you are different from them, right? And I mean, and I can go on and on and on and on. Bottom line, my reason for supporting Ruto, reason number 2, which is the most important reason, is I do not see a convincing alternative. People of the internet, thank you so much for listening to us and our opinions, and I look forward to doing this again. Asanteni.
Thank you sana Mzalendo.
I think I've taken the challenge, Jeremy and Ben and Alex and everybody who is at home. I think we have been a disappointment to our viewers, people who want to listen to us each and every time. And thanks to Brian, who has not been bringing the show, and Alex, who has not been bringing the show on time, because our people are starving for this political content. And as you can see in the comment section, people really want to know what our views, what you are saying. People learn a lot. When I started this Freak 24, I had in mind the Kenyan community and giving civic education to the people and making sure that we get quality speakers, people who have got different views, and also help people to rise politically. From these shows, from the discussions that we have, from you wouldn't believe it that decisions have been made from the talking points that have come from these particular shows. Today we have had a discussion on fuel, but what has happened? The government has acted on the price of fuel immediately, wamerudisha chini. So the moment we keep on highlighting these issues, the government arises and says, okay, this is an important issue, we must tackle it. I agree with my brother Jeremy on some point that the current political temperature in the country, it doesn't see a situation where Kalonzo can be the president. But again, where I don't agree with him is one, when I was supporting Ruto in 2022, I knew Ruto is a transitional president. He's somebody who is going to bring in the young people into politics and into the game of politics. And he did that perfectly by introducing new players in politics. The people that we are seeing, whether they are in the opposition today and they are in UDA, were as a result of William Ruto and Gachagwa's politics. So he introduced young people, young players who had never been into the game of politics. They were medus and all that. Those were creation of the coalition between William Ruto and Gachagua. But today, our politics is changing. There is a generation of young people who want results, who want to go to the hospital and find drugs. There's a generation who want to see the economy is stable. There's a generation who are demanding for jobs, They are demanding for industries. This generation is not the generation of boomers. This is the generation of Alex and Brian. These are generations who are looking at things in a different manner, and they are the majority. And the current government needs to address itself to the problem. The problem we are having in Kenya is corruption, unemployment, and lack of industries that can stir the country to where we want to move. You see, the issue of Singapore has died completely because it was a non-starter, and we brought it down specifically because it was not a program that was viable for Kenyan at that particular point. So Ruto needs to address the issues the way they are, the issues that affect each and everybody. Remember this: 2027 elections will be decided by the young people. 2027 elections will be decided by the working class and the Gen Z movement. So be aware of it. If you are supporting either two-term or one-term, know that the elections of 2027 represents the future of Kenya. Otherwise, thank you very much. We hope to see you again tomorrow for this wonderful discussion. Asanteni sana for having me on the show.
The media. We have had lengthy deliberations from 4 p.m. today up to now between the Ministry of Transport and Roads, the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, the National Treasury on the one hand, and representatives of associations of various public transport sector operators concerning the situation around the recently announced prices of petroleum products. The government of the Republic of Kenya regards the public transport sector as crucial to the functioning of the economy, and therefore would not wish to see any form of disruption in that particular sector, even for a minute. So in an open engagement, within a spirit of transparency, we have been able to listen keenly to the issues raised by the public transport sector players. And one of these issues was the matter of possible adulteration of diesel due to the huge disparity in the prices of diesel and petrol and kerosene, sorry. The disparities between the prices of diesel and kerosene, as was announced by EPRA on the 14th of May this year. We have come to understanding that for prudence purposes and to eliminate the risk of fuel adulteration on account of this huge disparity, and to save the motor vehicles that are operating using diesel from possible malfunction as a result of possible adulteration, we are going to bridge the gap between the prices of diesel and petrol. And that would mean, therefore, that the price of kerosene would have to go higher as that of diesel comes lower to bridge that gap for the reasons I have stated. That is the understanding we have come up with in the course of these deliberations. Details of those movements of prices are going to be published shortly by EPRA as mandated by law. I must also add that EPRA was fully involved in those deliberations, and this common understanding has been arrived at unanimously. That is the end of the statement. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much kwa wote ambao wamekuwa nasi kwa tanzia tuweze kuanza shughuli hii ya Africa 24 TV. Nawashukuru sana wale wote ambao wameshiriki nasi, the who subscribe, the Dr. Sara, the TV6, kuna Lamekion Sare, Linet Mokeira, Anton Rufuges, kuna William Bet, kuna Otieno Ganda, kuna Lilian Otieno, kuna Moses Reposi, kuna Wolfhampton Moseti, we have Lilian Onsate, we have Duke Mogere, we have Rodra Mokeira, Rusi Bisieri, we have Linet Monari. Thank you so much. Na wale wote ambao wamekuwa, hao ndio wale ambao wameweza kushiriki nasi tangia tuweze kuanza shughuli hii ya Africa 24 TV. Fuel protest shake Kenya's political parties rise and others fall. Lako ni lipi? Letu tumesema, lako semeni. Sisi ni Africa 24 TV, nami ni Brian Bichanga Ritirio.